In this video, we're going to be talking about the 3D graphics process. It's going to be a technical and a creative conversation, so this video is going to be perfect for somebody who just got started in 3D or somebody who has been working around for a while now, but you want to know a little bit more under the hood to hone more your skills and get better at what you're doing. We're going to be mainly focusing on three main points. First, the 3D pipeline in general and how data get transferred from your software, from your tool to your screen, and what's happening in between and how can you manipulate them. Two, why art principles still apply in the 3D world. Three, why the 3D process is not similar to the 2D process totally, and what leverage you will have when you're working with 3D art. But before we start, I want to welcome you to the Polymath Project, a channel documenting all the steps we're taking to build our business in the field of creative technology from the ground up. We'll roll the intro and we'll get started. Alright, so the first point that we want to discuss is the 3D pipeline. It is crucial for every artist in order to achieve mastery to get to know the tools that they are using. The old masters were chemists, biologists, they used to study nature, engineering, and they were painters and sculptors. For us modern artists, if we want to achieve this level of mastery, or think of it at least, we need to be able to dig deeper with the tools that we are working with. So if you're just starting with 3D, it's super important for you to understand the pipeline, because this will open up a new whole world for you, where you're not just learning a tool or a software, you basically understand how all these tools work and how maybe later you can manipulate them. This is the scope basically of the technical artists usually, where they can mix and match physics, math, I don't know, like simulation theories, AI, machine learning algorithms with 3D art and 3D technologies. The 3D pipeline basically is how data gets transferred from your CPU, from your software, or how the CPU gives instruction to the GPU. It goes through the memory, the RAMs, and through different, of course, procedures, it gets transformed from 3D information to pixel information. 3D tools such as Blender, Max, and Maya provide us with empty spaces, empty worlds. These worlds have three axes and three planes, the X, the Y, and the Z plane. When you create meshes and objects, when you create your world basically inside of these tools, you're technically just creating points in space. These points are called vertices. The vertex, each vertex, hold the position of that point in this space. So one of these points can be, for example, 1 on the X and 0 on the Y and Z. All of these points are then bundled up by your software and sent from your CPU, the brain of your computer, into your GPU, your graphic processing unit, that does some matrix math and then will project that 3D virtual world into your 2D flat screen. All 3D art, all 3D digital art will just end up as a flat representation on your screen. That in return implies that the 2D fundamentals of art still apply in the 3D creation process. Of course, we will be doing much more in-depth videos in the future, how this pipeline actually works and how you can interfere with it in order to create some cool effects and some cool artwork. But for now, let's move to the other topic, the second topic, and this is how art fundamentals plays an important role in 3D creation. So we have two main content in here. We have basically the technical side, which is super important, just like a chef cannot achieve full mastery with just the knife. They should know how to cut everything, how to prepare, how to use their tools, but also flavors come from the creative side, which is the art principle side when it comes to the digital artwork. So everything in here, from the normal art principles and elements like lines, dots, and all of these kind of stuff, still applies to the 3D world. And this is why many of the artwork that you see out there, especially 3D artwork, it feels a little bit dull and computer generated. This is because these kind of fundamentals are not being taken into consideration. So just the tools are being respected in this kind of artwork, but what pleases the human brain, the art principles, the proportions, the composition are not being respected. And so even if you're the best person in using this tool, if you don't have this kind of creative knowledge, and this knowledge is actually learned, it's not something that some people are born talented, but 99% of artists actually learn this by doing and practicing. So after explaining that your 3D world, your 3D virtual world, and your 3D data ended up as pixels on your screens, so it ended up as 2D, that means that whenever we're creating our 3D worlds, we should always think about the output. And the output is 2D. Technically, it's just a canvas, and all art fundamental still applies into this kind of artwork. So the elements of art like line, shapes, form, value, space, color, and texture are still super important in such configuration. Plus, composition is super, super important as well. So when we place this kind of 3D object into this virtual world, we should always be aware of how it will end up on that screen, how this image will be balanced, how we are creating unity, rhythm, how the proportions are talking to each other, what kind of movement, what kind of message are we getting from this kind of picture. The third point that I want to discuss is the leverage that 3D has over 2D and why this is not just a pixel in the end. As we discussed, art principles apply, but 3D has a little bit more leverage because you're creating in a 3D simulated environment and you have access to all of these meshes, these objects that you are creating. 3D worlds are made of data that governs how objects in these worlds are positioned, their sizes, their distances from each other, and so on. So a 3D object or a mesh in this world require parameters such as the location of its vertices or its points, how these vertices triangulate, and where do these points actually are pointing to, or what we call a normal vector. Also how images maps into these meshes, or what we call UV coordinates. Our view into these worlds is also guided by a virtual camera that defines the distortions, the field of view, the depth, and so on. The thing is, all of this data can be controlled and manipulated. While 3D art still requires 2D fundamentals, it cannot be thought of as just pixels because of all the manipulation that can be done on the 3D level actually. So mainly there are many kind of manipulation that can be done on the 3D level, and we can do that with shaders. The two that are most used are the vertex side and what we call the vertex shader, and there is the pixel side and what we call pixel shader. So at the vertex side, you can model something procedurally using math, or you can simulate wind. You can move object based on some sort of an external force, like leaf blowing in the wind, like waves of the sea. And at the pixel side, you can do cool effects on the pixel by themselves. Like think of this like Snapchat filters on top of your 3D artwork. So it's a filter that knows the 3D depth and knows the pixel information, and you can then do whatever you want to create fog, bloom, flare, the night vision effects, and lots of cool effects that can be done on this kind of manipulation. All right, so we covered a lot of information in such a short time. And I know this can get overwhelming, so in this section I want to give you some tips and tricks on how to get started. First, the conclusion of this video is 1. Learn the tools, get to understand them, master them, because all masters, all art masters, and all kind of masters in whatever field, uh, they are master at their tools first. Second, technical is important, but art fundamentals, art principles are important for your creative process. In the end, we're targeting the human psyche. We're targeting the human psychology and brain. We have to deliver a kind of message with our artwork. And point 3, 3D by itself is a very vast field. You can start by learning the general workflow of different tools, different techniques, and with time you'll divert on into what you kind of feel comfortable with and where your passion lies. Now I want to share some tips on how to get started. Point number 1, don't take it all at once. Learn a little bit by bit. Do small projects and finish them and then move on to the next step. Like when you want to learn modeling first, then texturing, then rendering. Don't try to do everything at once. All right. Second point is learn by doing. So you can be watching tutorials all day long, but for the information to get stuck, you have to be doing it with your own hands. And this is actually how you can build some creativity later on. Point number three, get some mentors. Don't learn by yourself. Go to communities, share your work, get feedback, and rinse and repeat basically. And point number four, this is a very fast moving field. A lot of technologies are emerging every day, different ways to do stuff. Machine learning is taking over a whole lot of this field, and you can use it. Don't be afraid of it. But the main point I want to bring home in this one is to be thirsty for knowledge and be curious. You should always be learning, always be trying new stuff. You can subscribe to this channel because we're gonna be doing some more in-depth videos about 3D techniques, digital art in general, and technical art. And if you like this kind of content, please leave a comment below. Let us know how do you feel, and thank you for sticking out till the end.